All right, everyone, we have a few stories to bring to you today in regards to the Nintendo Switch and Switch 2. We had a massive shadow drop happen today with Tomb Raider. We have the Final Fantasy VII Remake Director again defending game key cards and going into even more detail than he had previously, which I'm sure is not gonna, go over well with everyone. We have some news coming for Pokemon tomorrow. We have updated sales charts out of the UK. And look, guys, this is going to be a great video. Before I dive in, though, I gotta remind you, we are giving away 5 copies. That's right, 5 copies of Kirby Air Riders. To enter, all you gotta do is go down to the link in the pinned comment or the description. And yeah, as I mentioned earlier, Tomb Raider is coming to Switch and Switch 2. And let's go over all of the details here and this trailer we have included here. So all the DLC is going to be coming with this. So it comes with all the previously released downloadable content, including 6 bonus outfits for Laura, 8 online multiplayer maps, and 4 multiplayer characters. There is 8-player online multiplayer. It is included. You get to team up with or against and fight fellow survivors. There is the bonus content digitally, like get a look behind the scenes with the digital versions of the Dark Horse comic, Tomb Raider: The Beginning, and the mini art book, Tomb Raider: The Art of Survival, and the Final Hours of Tomb Raider developer video series. There is a discount at launch. You get 10% off its regular $19.99 price point through November 24th. There's also a loyalty discount as a special thank you. Owners of Tomb Raiders 1 through 3 remastered on Nintendo Switch are eligible for an additional 10% off. Also, a loyalty discount as a special thank you for owners of Tomb Raider 4 through 6 remastered on Switch will also be eligible for a 10% off discount. Obviously, this is the definitive edition. And look, guys, this was a complete shadow drop. This was not previously announced for Switch or Switch 2. It's available right now today. We like to see this kind of support coming to Nintendo. So really happy to have these games. They are very, very good. If you haven't played them, they're very, very good. Speaking of good games, we got to talk about, obviously, the UK sales charts here. As we go over to those sales charts, we can see here that Mario Kart World is holding steady at number 3. We have Call of Duty Black Ops 7, of course, jumping to number 1 as it released last week. Then you're seeing EA Sports FC 26. Not a whole lot of people buying it on Nintendo Switch and Switch 2. About the same amount of people buying it on the Switch as the Xbox Series. Switch 2 is a little bit less than that at 7%. You see Mario Kart World sitting here at number 3, followed by Pokemon Legends EA at number 4, where 63% of those sales were on Switch, with 37% on Switch 2. Battlefield 6 dropping to number 6 from number 5 last week. Don't You Hum Bonanza actually moving up a little bit to number 6 from number 8. You see Ghost of Yotei holding steady at number 7. Minecraft at 8. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at 9, and Hogwarts Legacy at 10. And what's really interesting about Hogwarts Legacy is you're seeing a huge chunk of those sales is actually Nintendo Switch 2. Switch 2 is actually the lead sale platform for it last week at 29% of those sales, with Switch at 24%, PS5 at 22%, and PS4 at 17%. Obviously, negligible to nothing on Xbox. So, pretty cool. I gotta say, it's always nice to see that it looks like Nintendo's platforms are seemingly doing pretty decent in the UK last week for the holiday season. Now we gotta get to an official update that comes from the Pokemon Company in Japan. This deals with updates for the DLC for Pokemon Legends EA. So tomorrow, November 19th at 2300, we'll reveal the latest info on the paid additional content, Pokemon Legends ZA Dimensional Rush. You guys know that it's called a little bit different here in English. We'll deliver the latest footage on the official YouTube channel. Be sure to check it out. Obviously, there'll be English versions of all of this as well. Look, guys, this was maybe the DLC that I'm least excited for. It releases next month, and frankly, as much as I am actually enjoying Legends EA, I don't find this to be a worthwhile thing. It really does feel like cut content to me. That's just my personal opinion. Of course, some of you guys aren't going to care if it's cut content or not. You feel satisfied with your purchase, and you just want to add some more on. Look, guys, it's your money. Spend it how you want. We will cover whatever the news is tomorrow in a video. That being said, we did talk about earlier how the director of Final Fantasy VII Remake is defending game key cards again. He's been defending them for months, and he's not stopping. So we get here to this article on Go Nintendo saying Final Fantasy VII Remake director again defends game key cards, talks optimization and resolution on the Switch 2 port. So it's obviously Naoki Hamaguchi who talked to Press Start in an interview. And here's what he said on the use of game cards. I think the game key card format is in some ways very important. The loading speed on old cartridges can make it difficult for a developer to make the modern, high definition, quality rich games that are common now. If we have to rely on the cartridge's loading speed, it becomes difficult to make games that work properly. Having the game keycard, which is close to downloading the game, allows us to make games in a way that works for us. It means we can provide players with deeper and richer experiences. So I really hope that fans come around to it. I understand from a gamer's perspective that there are some negatives to it, but it simply wouldn't be possible for us to put these richer experiences out there on traditional cartridges. I hope that some people can see the advantage of this format in that regard, which again is some interesting words when we have games like Cyberpunk 2077 fully on cartridge. So, some people aren't buying some of the excuses that he's selling, but he is the person making these games, and he does think that this is actually best for the game to not be on the cartridge. Now, here's what they've been working on with the Switch 2 version. So a lot of the optimization done for the Switch 2 version is new and is dedicated to the Switch 2 only. Mainly, things like fog effects and other post-processing effects were done from scratch to minimize the processing burden. All of those calculations were to be done as similar as possible to the other versions without putting too much weight on the processor. That worked well for some of the effects, but there were some things we felt it was vital we kept the same, like the lighting. I would say the Steam Deck version is a good comparison in terms of graphics quality. We wanted to have as few differences as possible when playing in the Switch 2's different modes. We started with a 2K resolution, which is what you get in docked mode, and it's solid and stable. If we tried to do the same thing in handheld mode, we'd end up with some problems. We opted to leverage DLSS upscaling to simulate as close as possible to the 2K output, and it really does look very similar. There may be small differences, but we're pleased with the results. So he's obviously talking about how you're not going to get that 2K resolution in handheld mode. So they really want you to enjoy the experience and have it not really feel different from handheld to TV. Obviously, factually, it can only go up to 1080p, but maybe they had to make some cuts here and there. DLSS brings it back up. Honestly, guys, this is all encouraging. We all know the entire trilogy, and gosh, if there's a fourth game is coming, they've already previously announced this. We just don't know when. Rebirth, and obviously the unannounced third game is coming, but we know that they will. Now, last thing, and this is sort of industry news, but it kind of bumps into Nintendo because the reason this is happening is Nintendo. PlayStation has been making some moves in Japan, and if you haven't been paying attention, they are looking to release a new PlayStation 5 in Japan only for significantly cheaper than the PS5 costs normally, and they are apparently doing this to combat the Switch 2. That's right. For all this talk about how Sony doesn't view Nintendo as competition, they're making a move that's literally about competition. PlayStation CEO reportedly pushed for lower cost PlayStation 5 to combat Switch 2's massive sales in Japan. So nestled towards the end of Sony's State of Play Japan stream last week was the announcement of a lower cost Japanese-only PlayStation 5 system. Taking a cue from Nintendo's own tactic with the Switch 2 in the region, this version of the PS5 would feature only Japanese language support so that Sony can combat scalping and increase costs of manufacturing. According to a report from Japanese outlet TV Tokyo, it turns out the move allegedly came after PlayStation CEO Hideki Nishino pushed for the option to combat the Switch 2's massive success in Japan. For years now, Sony is increasingly focused on Western markets when it came to PlayStation. We've seen that philosophy come to fruition with the closure of Japan's studio in 2021 and the company's game output coming primarily from Western studios. As TV Tokyo believes, previous management at Sony was not concerned with its shrinking market share in Japan. It also did not pay attention to Nintendo's success in the region, believing the momentum from the Nintendo Switch would not continue. For Nishino, his wake-up call was seeing the announcement of titles such as Final Fantasy VII Remake and Resident Evil Requiem coming to Switch 2 after years of Nintendo losing out on big third-party games. That's right, Sony getting a little nervous that, hey, these big Japanese companies are putting their biggest games on Switch 2. Maybe we gotta stop viewing Nintendo as not being competition after all, huh? I don't know. Food for thought there. So scrolling down, obviously, this type of move is going to cost Sony money in the short term. Prices on the PS5 have increased globally, and PS5 Pro has not been making much headway for the company. Nishino believes taking this hit right now will help prevent PlayStation from fading from Japanese players' minds, not to mention restore some of its market share in the region. He was reportedly the reason a State of Play Japan even happened, and hopes the price reduction and renewed marketing push will keep the brand healthy in Japan. So yeah, obviously Sony here is a little worried about Nintendo. Nintendo's getting those big third-party games they used to not get. This has made Sony a little antsy. Nintendo is dominating with this higher price point, but albeit, you know, lower than the rest of the world in Japan with Switch 2. They didn't think that was going to happen. They thought Switch was like a flash in the pan and Nintendo was going to see a reduction in demand, and that hasn't seemingly happened. So Sony is now obviously taking an about face here and being like, you know what, maybe we got to stop viewing Nintendo as not actually being competition for us, because they are now getting the same sort of games we get to sell our systems. Japan, they basically own that region. They've had no competition. We are worried a PlayStation brand just going to fade into obscurity there, the way Xbox never really got a foothold. And gotta be honest, I understand the sentiment. I've said this whole time that the Switch 2 is a more capable system. It's going to start getting all these major third-party games that is going to make companies like Sony a little bit nervous, because again, third parties are the bread and butter. That's why you buy PlayStation. It's for the third-party games like GTA 6 next year. What happens if GTA 6 gets announced for Switch 2? It's just one less reason to not have to buy a PlayStation, especially if you live in Japan, and you could just perfectly play it on Switch 2. So again, it's understandable why Sony's reacting this way. Competition is good and healthy for the market. This price point competition is also good and healthy for the market. I don't view any of this story, any of this reported stuff to be bad. I just think it's, you know, maybe a little ironic that Sony was kind of overlooking and pretending Nintendo basically didn't exist when it came to competition. And now that Nintendo's getting the same games that Sony's platforms get, they're like, oh, well, maybe that was a mistake. We'll have to obviously see what happens with the PlayStation 6 and the rumored PlayStation 6 handheld as well, and what Sony's future plans are. We'll cover that obviously when the appropriate time comes. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I am Nathaniel RoboJams from Nintendo Prime, and as always, I'll catch you in the next video.